So I decided to go back through some of this Secchi imagery of the sun. And as you can clearly see, we are on the Secchi A H1. And this is dated for November 17th, 2016. But what I'm about to show you is just another piece of the puzzle of what we're looking at. Now, this has been said to be a glitch in the camera systems of these spacecraft that monitor the sun. And there are several of them. And what you're looking at right now is said to be a glitch in the camera system. Well, the camera system does not point at the sun on this craft. What you're seeing right here, what I'm circling, is the planet Earth. Now, this object is definitely not that close to the Earth. However, it is definitely off in the distance. Now, what I'm going to show you is another view from another craft. And you can clearly see it's in the same position as the other photograph. What I want you to pay close attention to is this very high elevation right here, where my cursor is circling. As we move to the next image, the same identical elevation is there. They match up perfectly. Now, again, this is said to be the sun, and the computer had a glitch. So it transformed this image of the sun into the photograph. I personally think that's wrong. Now, if we take a look at the sun from a different image and a different craft on the same day at the same time, do you see any resemblance whatsoever? I don't. Now, what I want you to pay close attention to is I'm going to zoom into this. I want you to pay very close attention to the three-dimensional detail of this elevation, and all of these elevations and all of these striation marks all across this object. Now, would this be Planet X, or can this possibly be the brown dwarf that they call Nemesis? It is out near the sun. And looking further at this, again, you can match it up perfectly with the other craft. And this is Secchi H1-1. It matches up identically to what you're seeing on the other image. And once again, it is not the sun. You do not see any of those images of that elevation on that planet on this photograph and video of the sun, all coming from the same date and the same time, just a different view. Now, I want to zoom in a little closer so you can see more of this detail. The detail that you're looking at, this is a huge elevation. All of these formations are elevations on this object. It's not the best quality for this photograph and this imagery, but there is absolutely no doubt that's a massive elevation. We could look at the other imagery, and again, it appears right there. And I'll play these videos for you, and this comes directly from the Secchi craft. Just zoom out a little bit so you can see it. And it goes so fast, and this is over a 9-day period. And when you watch this, it only blinks by in a split second. It's almost like they thought, okay, well, nobody's going to see this. They won't pay any attention to it. So let's just play it, and I'll show you how fast it goes by. And again, this is a 9-day period. There it went. It went and it's gone. Now the same applies whenever we move to the other image. We'll go ahead, we'll play it, and you'll clearly see this one stays in the photograph for a few seconds more than the other craft. Now, those particles look like they are going straight through the image, but I don't think that's correct. These particles that are coming from the sun, from this huge plasma burst, are particles that are flying through space, past this planet, not through it. So if you pay very close attention to what you're looking at, don't be deceived. They want you to think that is some type of a holographic glitch in their camera systems. That is not correct. What you're seeing there is a solid object. Is that the brown dwarf known as Nemesis? Because I don't think that is Nibiru or Planet X, because that object is absolutely massive. If you look at the size of Earth and the size of that object, that is not 7 times the size of Earth, as Planet X or Nibiru is said to be. Now the brown dwarf is much larger than the Earth, much larger than Planet X or Nibiru or any other planet in its solar system. However, Nemesis, the brown dwarf, is smaller than our sun. That is part of our binary solar system. So let's just go back. Let's take another look at the Secchi image. And I'm going to have to stop this. I'm going to have to step through it to get back to the image. And you can see a huge burst coming from the sun when this object appears. And it seems that it interacts with the sun almost immediately. And once again, this is over a period of 9 days. The time-lapse footage seems to go by very rapidly, but it is over a period of 9 days. And this is what was captured on that Secchi image. Now, if you think for a minute, that object in the middle of your screen looks like this object, well, I'd have to say, get to your eye doctor and get your glasses and your eyes checked, because there's absolutely no way that image is this image. And this is what they're hiding from you. And I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this footage with my life, because we may never, ever see this again. Now, if you look at the top of this photograph, there's a crest on the bottom and a crest on the top. Something else that I noticed is that all of these particles, all of this is moving in a horizontal position. Everything on this object is moving in a vertical position. So that's only telling me one thing. That is a solid object. That object is not a holographic image. It is not a glitch. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to zoom in a lot more. And we're going to take a look at it up close. And you can clearly see that looks like a very three-dimensional elevation. Now, if you think I'm wrong, well, look, you're entitled to your opinion. But I think for the first time, we're actually catching a glimpse of the brown dwarf Nemesis, or possibly some other type of planetary body that is out there that we do not know of. And yes, they are trying to deceive you. There is absolutely no doubt. We will continue in our investigations. We will continue in our research till we are told the truth. But by the time we find the truth, it's probably going to be entirely too late.
Now, we obtained another Secchi photograph dated for November 30th, clearly showing the same object with the same three-dimensional markings on the planet. Now, I'm not sure if this could possibly be Nemesis, the brown dwarf, but it is a very, very large object. Now, once again, in these still photographs, we were looking very closely at this large three-dimensional plateau. Utilizing these images, we have definitely come to the conclusion that this is a real object in space. This is not any type of a camera glitch. But you come to your own conclusions. We decided to go back and take a look at some stereo images, just as we did the other day, looking at the Secchi images, which was showing a very large planetary object off in the distance from the sun. We looked at the stereo images and came up with November 30th, 2016. The same planetary object now appears in the footage on the 30th. The object was present in the photograph and imagery for several hours. This object matched perfectly with the images and video footage taken from Secchi on November 17th, 2016. I find it very hard to believe that 2 weeks later, the same large planetary object shows up on different imagery and the images are identical. It is my personal opinion that we are looking at the brown dwarf star known as Nemesis. I'm finding it very hard to believe that this is software issues and camera glitches. It just so happens that approximately 14 days later, these images reappear on different cameras that are focused in and around the sun. They want you to believe that this is a camera glitch and a vision of the sun. Well, the sun does not have mountain ranges and plateaus such as you see on your screen now.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from the Nibiru channel, September 10th, 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, the photographs that you're going to see on your screen right now were captured back in October and November of 2016. These photographs were captured on the stereo head H1 cameras, and I did a video back in October and November when these images were captured on these cameras. I produced that video and it got me in a world of trouble on YouTube. My account was suspended. But what you're about to see, once again, are the same images starting right now, almost a year later. The same images of the same object starting right here were captured today on the same cameras. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these cameras that are on the stereo spacecraft, they do not point directly at the sun. That much is a fact. I've captured all of the video on several of the cameras on the stereo imaging, and this is coming from Secchi, as they call it. What you're about to see, once again, almost a year later, the same object appearing on these cameras. And as you can see, the date, well, was just the other day. So it leads me to believe, excuse me, it leads me to believe that once again, there's a major cover-up dealing with Planet X. I took a lot of abuse from the trolling operations pertaining to the video that I produced back in October and November. All of the debunkers came out of the closets and they claimed that it was the sun, a reflective image of the sun into the camera. But as you can clearly see, ladies and gentlemen, these cameras don't point directly at the sun. These cameras are situated to record coronal mass ejections, CMEs as we call it. They also came up with their idea that the sensors in the camera, well, they were overloaded with light. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what we've been seeing over the course of the last several months is whenever we see one of these coronal mass ejections, the massive amount of light that is produced is now revealing once again what is actually there. You're actually going to see this object rotate. And it rotates not around and around like our Earth, but it seems to rotate forwards, which is kind of odd. We would think that something would rotate just like our Earth. But as you can see, this object is rotating in a forward position. I find it very, very odd that almost a year to the day, almost, I originally captured this back on, I believe it was October 15th, and then again on November 17th, 2016. Here we are, September 10th, almost a year to the day, and the object is back. But it has arrived about a month early. And once again, you'll have people telling you this is a reflective image on an overloaded camera, and that's the image of the sun. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, I proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was not the sun. I showed very, very high resolution photographs zoomed in to what looked to be plateaus or mountainous structures on the surface of this object that did not match any photographs taken from any NASA cameras of the sun at the same time. So once again, it leads me to believe there's a massive object out there near the sun, and this object is quite close to our sun. To me, ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is overwhelming. There's no doubt in my mind that once again, it seems that this object may be in an orbit, and maybe it's closing in, because now, again, this video and these photographs are being captured a month earlier. Could it possibly be in an orbital pattern and it's closing in? We see a lot of activity occurring on our sun right now. A lot of CMEs. June, July, and now again in August. We just had another CME yesterday. Well, there you have it, folks. Once again, this object has reappeared almost a year later, and they're going to want to lead you to believe that that object is a reflective image of the sun. Even though the cameras on this spacecraft are not pointed directly at the sun, like you see in the other images. What you're looking at here, I slowed it down into very, very slow motion. And I'm going to be examining these photographs and these videos a lot more in the coming hours and the coming days. And I'll have another report on all of this. But once again, making big discoveries, well, that's what it's all about. Trying to find the truth. Trying to seek disclosure. That's what we're here for. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. There is definitely more to come.